Hello, welcome back to my channel. We will discuss all the things disability advocacy. Today we are addressing an important topic. What do you think the topic will be? Can you have a guess? That affect millions of people worldwide. Intellectual disabilities. Have any of you heard about intellectual disabilities? All right. If you have not heard about intellectual disability, bring your popcorn close, bring your seat closer, and let's talk about it. And let me educate you a bit. After now, you can do more research on it and you have more great and deep insight. But my name is Monica. Draw closer and let's have a good learning. So, we're going to talk about intellectual disability. Together, we will unpack what intellectual disability are, explore the stigma surrounding them, and discuss practical ways to break that stigma on a global scale, including perspectives from both developed and underdeveloped regions. All right, so what are intellectual disability? What are intellectual disabilities? I know many of you today might be the first time you're coming across it, or you've heard about it, but you don't know what it entails, or you really know. Whichever one you belong to, come closer and let's dive into it. Intellectual disabilities ID are categorized by limitations in intellectual functioning, like learning, reasoning, and problem solving, and adaptive behaviors, like social and practical skills. These challenges typically appear before the age of 18. So what do you think can be this? Or what kind of disability or what kind of health condition or illness can be under this? Example of intellectual disabilities are Down syndrome. Some children, when they are born with Down syndrome. In a layman understanding, they are not spoken well, they are not reasoning well, they are not coordinating well, or sometimes not coordinating at all. They are actually called special needs children. The mother or the parents, they do everything for them. Then you have the Fragile X syndrome. You have the Fatal Alcoholics Spectrum Disorder. Then you have the Global Developmental Delay. Why the severity varies? It varies. There are plenty of this. People with intellectual disabilities can lead fulfilling lives with the right support and opportunities. Yes, I know one of them. She is an autistic child, but now she's an adult in this development world in Nigeria. She's learning her voice out. She's advocating. She's sensitizing for cerebral palsy and for autistic children. So let's continue. The stigma surrounding intellectual disability. One thing with this intellectual disability is that when you see them, you will know. It's obvious, like every other disability. Unfortunately, stigma remains a significant barrier for individuals with intellectual disabilities and their families. And here is how it manifests. Stereotypes. Viewing individuals with intellectual disability as less capable or a burden. They then say, a liability, they don't born, they get one thing. I know when we are growing up, we used to call them Beskele meske in quotes, because of most of them, the way they walk, they are deformed in walking, their face is twisted, they are gushing out with spit on their mouth, and their hands, some of them are not coordinated. Imagine that kind of stereotype name they give them. So, assuming they cannot contribute meaningfully to the society, you can't condemn they cannot. I know of recent time, many of them are very good in drawing, I've seen a woman in one of these social media. He said, oh, every time my daughter asks for pencil and drawing book, I didn't want to. But when I start giving her, she become better and be more happy and coordinated. She draws so well. So you see, they are meaningful to the society. Discrimination. The second part is of stigma surrounding intellectual disabilities is stigmatization and discrimination, denial of education, employment, and healthcare opportunities. Like every other person with disability, there's always discrimination, social exclusion, and bullying. These people suffer bullying so much, especially in schools, and in communities. I can even tell you that this intellectual disability, they suffer bullying more than any other person with disability, you know. Then the third point is cultural misconception. In this part of the world, anything that happens to you that leads to this disability or any kind of misfortune, there is a reason. And the reason they are looking for is for them to neglect you. The reason they are looking for is for them to discriminate you. The reason they are looking for is for them to stereotype you, to stigmatize you and your family. They are not looking for any reason for solution. This is where we really need to change. So in some cultures, intellectual disability are associated with shame, curses, or family dishonor. Families may hide affected members, isolating them from society. Yes, this happened a whole lot of time. I have a friend that is a nurse, and the sister had an autistic child. You can't believe during functions, they made sure that the guy sleep all day so that he will not come out, so that people will not know that they have kind of autistic child or they have kind of intellectual disability child in their family. Then she told me that. She said she wasn't happy with the sister, but you see, to just hide the family from being insulted and all that. Then the next segment we are going to look into is global perspective on breaking the stigma. Globally, how are they looking at to break the stigma of this intellectual disability? And we'll first look at how developed countries carry their own tax. In developed countries, awareness and advocacy have led to progress. That's one thing with developed countries. The advocacy and the awareness leads to progress. There is inclusive education. Schools are inclusive. Many schools integrate students with intellectual disability into mainstream classroom with tailored support. Employment opportunities. Program encourage business to hire individuals with intellectual disability, showcasing their unique skills. Public awareness campaigns. Media campaigns and laws like the Americans with the Disability Act, ADA, promote acceptance and accessibility. With this, the development world is, making more improvement than on the development world. However, let's look into underdeveloped countries like Nigeria, Ghana, and all the rest and Asia is doing. In many underdeveloped regions, including part of Africa and Asia, limited resources. There are few specialized schools or healthcare facilities. This is so true. And that's one of the reasons that people that have such a child, a family member, they've tried the way what they can do. They resulted in hiding the person from people seeing, but this is not the best thing to do. Then stigma and isolation. That's always one of the things with disability in underdeveloped country. Families may face intense societal pressure to hide members with intellectual disabilities and even any form of disabilities. Then the third part is lack of policy support. The government of underdeveloped countries, the government often neglect the need of this population in their development agenda. This is so key because most government they are looking at because they are not really they were not heavily represented, or they are not even represented at all. Their focus is more in maybe polio, albinism, deaf impairment, visual impairment, spinal cord impairments and all the rest. But this intellectual disability is so key that government should look into it. Government should address their need. Okay, so we now move into intellectual disability in Nigeria. Do we have them in Nigeria? Yes, it's not only in development world. So let's take a closer look with this intellectual disability. Like, the challenges other disability face. Do you think these people's challenges will be different? Intellectual disability in Nigeria. If you take a closer look in Nigeria, a country where traditional beliefs and systemic challenges impact individuals with intellectual disability. What do you think will be their own now? Then we now look at cultural attitudes. In many communities, intellectual disability are misunderstood, often blamed on spiritual causes or parental wrongdoings. This is key in African countries. This is key in Nigeria. And another one, such belief fuel discrimination and isolation. They see it, oh, your papa do something, your mama do something, now why you dey suffer? Or you don't do something, now why you dey suffer? That's why I say that they always look for a reason for discrimination, reason for isolation. Are you seeing it? Then we'll now look at education. Access to special education is limited, with most public schools unequipped to support students with intellectual disabilities. It's not accessible, it's not inclusive, it's not equipped. They were not put in mind, and the schools are not even trying to improve to accommodate such group of people. Teachers often lack training in inclusive education. Not all teachers are trained for this kind of personalities. Then we'll look at healthcare. Diagnosis and intervention services are scarce. They are very, very scarce, especially in rural areas. In urban area, we still suffer such, but rural area, I don't think you have anything like that. Families may rely on unproven traditional remedies due to lack of accessible medical care. This is so true. I'm not saying that traditional means of treatment is not valuable, but there are some cases that is advanced, is beyond the traditional methods, is where they need to source more improved healthcare system to help the person. Then the fourth part is employment. Like, employment is a very key challenge in every person with disability, and theirs is not a different one. Opportunities for meaningful work are almost non-existent, reinforcing stereotypes about inability and dependence is also part of the thing. But despite the challenges, do we make progresses? Do intellectual disability persons make progress? Do they achieve in things in the community and in the country as well? I will tell you, yes, they do. So, advocacy groups, organizations like the Down Syndrome Foundation Nigeria, DSFN, and Patrick Speech and Languages Center are raising awareness and providing resources. I don't know this organization, but I need to look for them and applaud them for what they are doing so far. So, public awareness campaigns, increasing efforts to educate communities about intellectual disabilities and promote acceptance. It's key. Grassroots efforts. Families and communities are coming together to demand better education and healthcare services. Yes. For us to have an improved society, inclusive society, families should come. They know what their children is passing through. They were able to say, we need help in this. They put heads together with a specialist in that area and come up with a very good solutions. Okay? So we can't fold our hands. We'll continue. Despite the challenges, advocacy groups should continue. Learn more voice, learn more support, do campaigns, and, do grassroots from rural area, village to village, talk about it. Let them know that it's not anybody's sin for them to born like that. Then another one, how do we break the stigma? How can you break the stigma of disability? How can you break the stigma of intellectual disability? That whenever they have anybody like that, in a normal African setting, possibly they've used this person for juju. They use this person for money ritual. Oh my goodness, so funny, right? But that's what it is. That's how they view it. And that's why instead of asking for, when they ask for reason, they don't ask for reason for solution. They ask for reason for discrimination. They ask for reason for isolation. So breaking the stigma requires effort from individuals. I agree with that one. Families, community, and government. And I have few points for me to tell this is what we can do or how we can come about it. Educate the public. Like what I'm doing now is educating the public. Because if you don't know about this, if you don't know how you can help, you don't know. You be living in the mint. You be living in the hearsay or all the rest. So I'm still talking about how do we break the stigma. I mentioned about the educate. It's about to educate the public. That what I'm doing now is also. Welcome to my channel and continue watching. Today we are discussing about intellectual disabilities, and we are talking about how do we break the stigma. I've talked about how we can break it in my previous topics, and it's not different from intellectual disabilities. So how we can break the stigmas to educate the public. Advocate for policy change. Policy change is very, very key. We need to advocate for that policy change. Push government to implement and enforce disability rights, laws, ensure equal access to education, healthcare, and employment, and increase funding for special education and vocational training programs. These are really, really very key because we cannot do without not making a change. Without not doing all this. Another one is promote inclusive education. It's very important that our education is very inclusive. We have modernized things, improved things for specialized students like intellectual disability students. Another one is empower families. Many families that have these children or has these sisters and brother or husband and wife, it's really, really hard for them. We need to provide parents and caregivers with the resources and training to support their children effectively. This is really key because it's overwhelming when they don't know what to do and how to actually do it. Foster parents support groups to share experiences and reduce isolation. It's also good that we have the peer support for the parents and for the guidance. And another one, celebrate achievement is key. In any milestone these special kids achieve, we need to celebrate them, we need to encourage them, and we need to make them, we need to love them. Not for them feel love, we need to love them. They need love, they need to feel love, but we need to love them. So celebrate high success story, individual with intellectual disability in sports, arts and employment, and even in politics, and celebrate milestones like World Down Syndrome Day and International Day of Persons with Disability that just took place on 3rd of December this year. So come on and let's do this, okay? Call to action. What are we need to do? Stigma thrive in silence, and breaking it start with conversation like this. If you know someone with an intellectual disability, take the time to understand their work and show them the respect they deserve. First is learn. Educate yourself about intellectual disabilities. It's key. Now we're in a global space. You can research, you can do a whole lot of things to know about this intellectual disability. If you are the father, if you are the mother, if you are the relative, if you're in the peer support group, if you're in the community, please learn. I'm lending my voice for you to learn and for us to include these our brothers and sisters with this kind of health condition. And again, advocate. We can't talk about disability without not talking about advocate. Speak out against discrimination when you see it. There's a whole lot happening in disability world. A whole lot of discrimination. Speak out. Then connect. Support organizations that empower individuals with intellectual disability. So any organization with this, please hit me up and we'll see what we can do for this special individuals. Okay, together we can create a world where intellectual disability are seen not as a limitation but as a unique part of human diversity. As I rightly always say, disability is diversity, so we need to embrace it. We need to do what? Welcome it. Thank you for watching, and if this video resonates with you, don't forget to like and share, and let's break the stigma, our conversation at times. Drop your thoughts in comment. How does your community approach intellectual disability? Let's discuss. Until next time, take care and be there.